Hey, gang. It's Monday. Time for Up the Middle. Time for me to get some. Oh, come on. There we go. Good morning, gang. Yeah, look at that hair. Wavy today. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. I mean, it's radio. Why should I care about that? Well, we got this thing called a camera, and it's in the studio, and it's here, and it's on my face. Oh, wow. Is there going to be a rant today? Plus some news with Mastiff Media. You saw the Mastiff Media overlay before me coming on. Yeah, something happening there too. Jane will be here at about 45 minutes or so. I never messaged her last night. I'll do that during a break. Check the time. Oh, what else? There it is. Okay. I'm going to 5 different screens here. Actually 4, but you know the deal. I didn't share that yet either. I was so ready, and then there you go. You're not as ready as what you thought. Why are they blinking? Oh, wow. All right, it's 11:02 right here in Tampa. 8:02 a.m. over on the left coast. I don't have that up there. I was looking at something else, with judging times. I think that might have been still from our Milwaukee thing. 4:02 p.m. out in London. We finally made it back to them on Friday. Oh, I got to test. I got to test America One Radio. I think they got my messages finally through the Facebook page. So I use my phone or my iPad to check the networks to make sure everybody's sounding good. And we'll see if we're on there today. It's been since January. We're still on the schedule. Here's a moment of truth. Brad Friedman, some blogger, the Bradcast. Blah. He sounds pathetic. All right, well, I mean, I don't know what else to do. Let's take a phone call. Hi, you're on the air.
Hello, this is business listing verification with an urgent message. We are calling you because
it was a call coming in from Pennsylvania, and Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, had an arson issue over the weekend. I mean, an attack. And it's the beginning of Passover, and he's Jewish. And so, I mean, I think there's a hate crime to be looked at there among the arson and attempted murder and a bunch of other things. All right, where were we? London, 4:04 p.m., 17:04 in Berlin, 18:04 in Gaza, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Kyiv, and Moscow. 11:04 and 11:05. There we go, because it took so long. 11:05 in Perth. It's p.m. Monday night, 5 minutes after midnight, Tuesday in Tokyo, and 1:05 in Melbourne, Sydney, and Canberra. Today, we're checking out Radio X in Perth, Australia, WZQR Talks, Pineland, Florida, DNR Studios. I've got an interview with them after the show today. So if you're going to be following Mastiff Media Magazine throughout the afternoon, it's going to be the same hour. I can give you that heads up now. I'm sorry about that, but my interview's at 1:30 in the middle of the first hour after the show. It doesn't end till 2:30 in the middle of the second hour after the show. And I've got to get the podcast episodes, the previous episodes of Up the Middle, onto the RSS feed before they bitch at me during that interview. 1400 AM and 1071 FM KSHP Las Vegas. And, of course, DNR Studios. I think I said that. DNRstudios.com and the DNR Cast. Rainbow Radio, Yerg's Radio, and coming soon, finally, we've landed a conservative radio station. If you can't find one, build it and they will come. Mastiff Media will soon be launching Right Talk Radio. Friday, I wanted to break the news to Matt, and I couldn't do it yet because I didn't actually finalize the purchase on 3 very protected, very prestigious domains. I mean, they're mine, so that makes it a little bit more prestigious. But I mean, the ending, like .com, .this, .that, whatever. Yerg's Radio can, of course, be found at yergsradio.com. You know that. Yerg's can be found at yergs.com. That one's not going to change. That's about as short as it's going to get. But Yerg's Radio can now be found at yergs.radio. Just like Mastiff Media can be found at mastiff.media. Excuse me. Not mastiffmedia.com, mastiff.media. Build a space. Is it build.space? Yerg's Radio is now at yergs.radio. Rainbow Radio, I'm torn on this one because I like the .gay and .lgbt because that's really who it's for. Like, for example, there's a Rainbow Radio in Hawaii, but I guess Hawaii, being surrounded by water, is known for frequent rainbows. So there's a straight Rainbow Radio in Hawaii. I don't see them using .gay or .lgbt. But for us, Rainbow Radio is for the gay community, so I kind of want to leave it with the .gay. And we also own .lgbt. And now we also own rainbow.radio, which, if you use that, forwards to the .gay and .lgbt website, as does yergs.radio forwards to the .com website. Later this spring, maybe not till the summer, we'll see, Mastiff Media will be launching a conservative talk radio station. I mean, timely. It's too bad Blake left the way he did, because I don't think this is a door that should remain open. Even, I mean, for as much as he's admitted leaving the way he did was probably not the best or as professional as he or I would have liked. Alex Hormozy is a guy that I follow on YouTube. And he says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. For a year, I tried to get him to share the microphone better on the Friday episode. Originally called the Lunchtime Happy Hour, and eventually rebranded to Friday Fights. That's been over a year. It's been about 14 months now. You know what time it is, so I can take this off. That's been about 14 months now. And yeah, it's been that long that I've tried to get him to share the microphone. One of the things he said that day that he left, when I tried to bring that listener up to speed on my thoughts about the Roman salute, that he didn't care about that listener. I was stunned. I was like, what? Like, why would you not say, oh, yeah, okay, let's hurry up. Let's get on with it. Bust my balls a little bit. But you listening right now, you're the reason why I'm here. I've said this before. When I find somebody else who can talk politics with the expertise that I can, from both sides of the political spectrum like I can, and for both sides of the political spectrum, I'm out. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening anytime soon because it's so polarized and so divisive. Good morning, Ken. Superfan Ken listening today. He says, good morning, gang. Yergs. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I do too. I did. Got a lot of work done. I'm planning on getting a lot more. Another reason why that same hour of news is going to repeat is to free myself up to upgrade or update my RSS feed for the past episodes. I've got an announcement with some of those episodes. I've done some research, and I've come to a conclusion that some of the places we're broadcasting to are counterproductive. And some of the places we could be asking you to listen or watch from could be much more productive. So there's that. Plus, I got some things to do around the house. My parents left. It will be a month at the middle of this week that my parents flew back to Pennsylvania. I still have 2 air mattresses blown up in my bar room. My bar's not put back together. I've had glasses sitting outside on my benches that I need to wash since we gutted the place right after Helene. I've had nowhere to go, to be clear. But now I've got shelves. They're up. I can get the bar room functional again, and that's going to be today's project, in addition to the RSS feed. So had a great weekend, hoping to have a great evening tonight. Welcome, Ken. Good morning. Good morning, Travis. Travis Evans from The Point with Travis Evans. I'll be on that again tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, on Facebook. I'll be putting a bunch of links in the chat today. Bookmark them all. Conservative, progressive, Travis's. Yeah, I think they're kind of, I don't call myself middle of the road. I call myself common sense and balanced. There's things that I'm conservative about. That's not middle of the road. That's conservative. There are things I'm progressive about. That's not middle of the road. That's progressive. That's liberal. That's left. That's whatever. And that's another thing is that I'm kind of over some of the labels. My community, the gay community, everybody needs to identify as to who they are. LGBTQIA. There's 2 A's. There's 2 Q's now. Questioning and queer. I stop at LGBT because that's enough. I mostly use gay community, which is why I have that domain too. But I can't, I'm not. Hey, David Jeffries, welcome on Instagram. I can't use queer because as a kid, I grew up that being a slur. To me, that's, or like, I'm just going to say it, fag. That is the gay, they are both the gay version of the N-word or a racial or ethnic slur. And I'm not going to do that. So I'm not going to support it either. I get younger generations are trying to take control of it and own it like the Nazis did. Did you know that? The word Nazi, that comes from nationalist, socialist, the German translation of those 2 words, is actually one word in German. It's a big compound word. Nazi comes from the beginning of those 2 words. It was actually a slur created by anti-Nazi people, but was taken over by the Nazi Party and used as identification. I just can't seem to muscle it to use the word queer in that same context. So I don't. Yeah, this is Up the Middle, politics for the rest of us. I'm Yergs, a voice that sounds like yours. I told you I'm about to go on a rant. Join me with it if you want to. 1-888-88 Yergs. Where the hell is it? Or 844 gay LGBT. Those are the two numbers. I thought I had one coming in. I guess not. One of these. I'm sorry. I'm editing a thing to go across the screen here. I can put that out. There we go. 1-888-88 Yergs, 844 gay LGBT. If you've got the Google Voice number that used to be up there, keep that. That's the celebrity call-in line. And it comes in on a different channel. So even if the toll-free numbers are booked up, that one's going to get through unless I got some other celebrity on that one. Or somebody that I need to call in. Super fan, staff member, whoever, whatever. So my rant. Gang, this is not that hard. I say that because I'm referring to life. It's coming up on 2 years ago that I've taught you how to fact check. And even more importantly, it's coming up on 2 years ago that I taught you why to fact check. What does that mean? Well, why? People take the news and they just think it's accurate. That's why I provide show notes. Right now, you got to take a little bit of an effort to get them because I don't have a website where I can upload them. I have websites, I just talked about them, but they don't have the feature on them yet to which I can upload. That's coming. I still have them. For the past year, I still have them. In the event that I don't have something on paper or a saved electronic document, the citation is probably in the show. This comes from whatever source. Go to that website, CNN, Fox, whoever, and search it there. When you're on network news, an industry that is sucking bad enough, it probably is in your best interest to get it right. It is probably something you may want to put a little effort into. Because there are people who take you as gospel, who do not fact check. They can't. They don't know how. They're too busy. They're too lazy. They're to this, that, or the other thing. So for sake of your own professional, moral reputation, get it right. That's why I, and hopefully most of the creators, journalists of sorts, that'll be on Right Talk Radio or Rainbow Radio or Yerg's Radio, are not likely to support the Trump administration. And we'll talk about plenty of examples why such support, omitting or not providing such support is probably a good idea. Just today alone. But I want to play you a clip about this gentleman that was deported illegally from Maryland. By now, everybody knows. In fact, the president of the country to where he was deported just recently landed here in the United States. You would think, because now we know where he's at in this prison, we could say, all right, we really screwed up. We're going to give you a ride back. And we're going to do right by you and give you kind of a treat and put you on the presidential plane of El Salvador with the president of El Salvador. Now, maybe because you've got this allegation of being a gang member and being a violent criminal, which has not been proven, by the way, at all, ever, we're not going to let you get too close to him. Because we have a job to do too, and that's protect our protectee, the president of El Salvador. However, as an apology for this mix-up, that of course is if you want to actually believe that it was a mix-up, we're going to give you a free ride back. Nope, didn't happen. Still there. But with everything I just said, of course, I'll admit, that's probably a stretch. He's not going to ride back with the president. As a former bodyguard of such, I would not like that idea either. Are there flights back from El Salvador between then, the day that he was deported, and now? I should Google that. Oh, let's do that on Google Flights. Real quick. Just why not? And then we'll put this link into, and we'll put this link into the show notes as well. I'm going to pull this up quick. We're just going to say to Tampa now because that's what came up, but to USA. That comes up. There we go. That's Google. My search gave me like a bunch of different options, and I don't want a specific airline. I want an airline that's all right. Let's just put Miami then. It's not letting me put the country because my point is I want to prove that there are plenty coming to the United States. Departure. I mean, when was this guy deported? I mean, let's say we found him last week, but we can't backdate it. All right, well, I mean, today. No, tomorrow, because most of the flights for today have actually already, at least half of them, possibly. Let's get rid of round trip one way. And let's make it for Wednesday. Search. And let's share this on the screen here. So not starting till 9:40 a.m. Oh, there's a 7:35 by Avianca. How are these? Oh, it's by, okay. Let's see if we can arrange anytime. Can it do like in order? Sort by departure time. There we go. Starting at 6:40 a.m. There's a nonstop flight to Miami. Avianca has a nonstop at 7:35 and a one-stop at Augusto Caesar Sandino, wherever the hell that is. You okay, buddy? Oh, my poor dog and his issues. God, that makes me sad. So we're not even till 10 o'clock, and we've got 6 flights just on that one day, all into Miami. American has 3 more. Copa and United. We're at 3:30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got 11 flights between 6:40 a.m. and 3:30 getting into Miami alone. And then we expand that, and American comes up with a crap load. Now, these have 2 stops getting there. So I'm not going to stops. Any number? Nope, nonstop. Let's get him here. Three. But you can't tell me that in that time we can't get him out of prison, which is probably also in San Salvador, and to the airport. Let's go with Washington, D.C. I know that one is going to be IAD. Dull ass. Number of flights that are nonstop to Dulles International? 5. 5 flights, and throughout the day, 6 a.m., 9:30, 5:50 p.m., 8:30, and 10:05. Nonstop. He's from Baltimore or Maryland, so let's just see if BWI is one of them. None to BWI. But Dulles is not far from where he's at. I've lived in DC for 11 and a half years. Dulles is not far from where he's at. Now, I say that because if I were to bump into Donald Trump and knock him over, now, before you thinking I'm going to go assaulting a president as a former Secret Service agent, no. But I'm giving a clear example of how stupid the government is being. If I were to bump into Donald Trump and knock him over, would it not be the right thing to do to extend my hand, probably bend at the knees because this is going to be a little heavy, but to in some way, shape, or form extend my hand and help that person back up. Am I wrong about that? Should I just let him lay there? I'd like to. But this is me taking a higher road that shouldn't be really that high, I don't think. I think this is something that is a normal thing to do when you've made a mistake, when you've admitted that you made that mistake. Try to do something. Like I said, this is not that hard. But no, the current regime's position is that they should not have to try to bring this person back after admitting they wrongly sent him out in the first place. Why? Because he has tattoos on his body that are indicative of being in MS-13. That makes him guilty. Screw due process. Hang him. That's what I say. Hang them all. Because we're not going to make any other mistakes, are we? I mean, we're not going to send a couple who did admittedly, this is just an example. All right, this is just an example. But we're not going to send a couple who did admittedly cross over illegally, spend 30 years here as law-abiding illegal aliens. Obvious situation is the exception. Only to, when they've checked in, as they have so many times before, for 30 years, detain them and send them back to where they came. That's not going to ever happen. Or if we were to, in the course of all these raids, searching for all of these violent offenders, arrest a baker and deport her. So you know how violent women are. And maybe I'm exaggerating with this example. And deport her back to whatever country. Wait, I'm checking my notes. Oh, those are actual other quote unquote mistakes that this not racist or ethnically biased government has done. Those are actual examples. How do you go into a bakery and arrest someone to deport them? And apparently this person was here illegally too. But they're just immediately deported. Now let's rephrase what I just said with that one. A bakery. This is not the dishwasher in the back. This was the owner of the bakery. So either she just simply owns the brand and she's renting all the equipment and the storefront from someone else, or maybe she actually bought the equipment and bought the property. If you go that far into our society as a illegal, maybe you shouldn't be quite so high up the list. Instead, perhaps we should be going after these, what were they called? Oh, yes, violent felons. These millions of violent felons that are murderers and rapists and running all over the place. Sounds pretty easy to me if there's so many of them. Let's kind of focus on deporting them. No. And I'll tell you why. I believe, now this is just my opinion, YouTube, if you're listening. I believe that because this administration was such a failure the first time around, I mean, if it was such a success, wouldn't Donald Trump, the guy who never hires anyone but the best and the brightest, brought those same people back? But instead, there's literally one person that I've found so far who's from the first administration. Actually, I'm thinking there might be two. There might be two. But I'll tell you who's not one of them. His former vice president is not one of them. He's not here. And in fact, he said, I believe, with a good conscience, he couldn't vote for Donald Trump. His own boss. Tell you who else isn't here. At least not in the active level he was during 1.0. DJ TJ isn't here. Ivanka's been gone. And Eric. Now, occasionally they say something stupid on Twitter, and we love them for that because, after all, Jimmy Kimmel still has a job. He wasn't doged yet. But the two people that I can think of, and the one I'm not even sure, the one I'm sure about, that was a part of 1.0, got, in my mind and my understanding, a demotion. He's not even in the same upper level position he used to be in. That's the current director of the CIA. Was the director of national intelligence during Trump 1.0. A position that I never understood in the first place because the director of Central Intelligence, the director of the CIA, the actual position name for the director of the CIA is he's called the DCI, or they are called the DCI, Director of Central Intelligence, meaning just that. Other intelligence services funnel information to them for processing. We have this agency or bureau called the FBI who didn't like that idea. So they had to create another position to act as the clearinghouse on behalf of the clearinghouse. But we never cut that position, by the way. Nobody doged that. So that's one. The other one, I think, I have to look into this, is Stephen Miller, who is running around as one of the assistant chiefs of staff. He's one of the brainiacs behind half of the crazy-ass things that goes on. He might have been the guy behind the Muslim ban, I think. I'll have to look into that. The point of all this being, I'm not sure that this administration is really making mistakes when they're also not making any progress. The tariffs are going back and forth like a tennis match at Wimbledon. And nothing else has happened. Except he set a record on the number of executive orders written. That sounds democratic to me. Let's bypass Congress. I mean, I own Congress anyway, so what the hell? Congress looks like a bunch of men at an ED clinic. And the court, well, they got me to thank for their position and the attention that they get. I don't care what they say. Even if they say I got to bring this guy back. Why? I'm Donald Trump and I can cheat at golf. Check out Rick Riley from Sports Illustrated, who will tell you that very thing. So, this guy from Maryland is still in El Salvador. There are legitimate visa holders who have been deported because we know how violent they are. Right? I mean, a student who voices an opinion that's not in line with this regime, let's deport them. Now, when it comes to those students who acted in the exact same manner, simply peacefully demonstrating, but they were in line with this regime, I'll bet they're out there too. And they were deported, right? Yeah, well, name one. You can't. Maybe because they weren't deported when they're stepping in line, goose-stepping in line with this administration. Maybe now Blake Fisher will see why I call this guy a fascist and why I've gone from comparing him to Adolf Hitler to comparing his entire administration and labeling it the Fourth Reich. Pretty simple. I told you 43 minutes ago, this ain't that easy. Screwed that up, didn't I? I told you 44 minutes ago now, this ain't that hard. This ain't that, I mean, I stutter, obviously, but this ain't that hard. I'm about 30 minutes past needing to take a break. So let me do that. I got to upload something else too, because I got a new commercial. You're not going to have to hear the same damn commercial all the time. Are you excited to hear another commercial? I got bad news though. It's me. Yeah, I'm the one doing the commercial. I mean, that should not. I got to reach out to Ken. His voice is pretty damn sexy. Ken. Let me see. Where the hell was it? Oh, for God's sake. Add spots. Oh, there we go. All right. Here it comes. Processing. Yay. You're going up the middle. I got to take a break. Here it comes. We'll be back after this. Hey, gang, it's Yergs from Up the Middle. Are you conservative? Tired of being told what to think or how to think it? Or that you have to support a certain regime or quote-unquote administration? Switch on over to Right Talk Radio. Radio and conversation and political talk for free speech and for conservatives in their right mind. Right Talk Radio.
What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching. Dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum.
And now my hair looks awesome. I check the sound and everything's sounding good. We're on K-Shop. We're on WZQR in Pineland, Florida. That's all on my web browser, so I didn't get to check DNR yet. I'll do that now too. But let's go through some chats and see if I'm making any sense to everybody. Ken says, with regards to the El Salvador incident, I personally don't call it a mix-up. I likely call it a kidnapping by goons. Yeah, I mean, when you see some of the videos of how these guys are acting, look, I've been a rather demanding position as I affected arrests. But here's something I never did. I never arrested anybody illegally. And that's possibly why my total number of federal arrests through my 21-year career might not be as sexy in number as some of the other. But I'll tell you what it is. It's legitimate. Yep. We're on the DNRcast app. Sounding good there. They're legitimate arrests of actual bad people. And all either found guilty or pled. So yeah, I mean, a baker, really? A baker? So this was, I think that's who I was my number 2. Ken asks, wasn't Stephen Miller in Trump 1.0? Yeah, I think he was also, and that was my number 2. I think he was the one. Oh, Ken's done some research for me. What do we got here? Yep, Miller was in version 1, who was behind the travel ban. Yeah, that's what I thought. And it says, thanks for the voice compliment. Yep, Ken's my sexy chocolate super fan. Ken says, I've had a few men and women that didn't want to get off the phone with me. That's good. He's had a few men and women that didn't want to get off the phone because he sounded that good. And lastly, what's he got here? Yeah, I've got it's a little bit of a rooster look up top today. Little Gavin Newsom meets some of the other hippies in San Francisco. So I want to play you this clip. Jane should be logging in any time now. I didn't get a chance to message her during. But this rant about El Salvador, listen to Laura Ingraham. I'm sorry, but I gotta be fair and balanced and show you both sides. Listen to Laura Ingraham show you what she thinks is journalism.
Well, the Supreme Court, in an unsigned order, essentially allowed a lower court order that said, from Judge Boasberg, now you got to bring that deported El Salvador illegal alien back to the United States.
Okay, we didn't even last 20 seconds before I had to stop. First of all, did you notice the pause before she began speaking? There was this, oh, now what happened? I hate how this does this.
Today marks
this pisses
the
me off.
demolition of one of the
This is
most
why people
monumental
pirate your videos. And of course, that's not what stays up there. Now I got to find the link. And so this segment, by the way, is entitled Ingraham Angle. It's the name of her show. Ingram or whatever angle, bent over. Is that it? No. What the hell did I just... damn it. Copy. Try this again. Instead of doing a Google search. There we go. I'm just going to do the first couple of seconds with this, and then I see Jane's backstage. So...
Well, the Supreme Court, in an unsigned order, essentially allowed a lower court order that said, from Judge Boasberg, now you got to bring that deported El Salvador illegal alien back to the United States.
Yeah, it's
Can't
called
remain
due
in that
process.
Supermax prison. Well, the court essentially said you got to facilitate it. So that just broke before the show. Joining me now, Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt. Senator, well, here we go. We got a massive problem with illegal immigration in the United States. The voters made it clear they wanted Donald Trump to do something about it. Donald Trump tries to take measures, sometimes
he's laughing
extraordinary
at her,
measures to keep us
why
safe.
You see that smile on his face.
And yet the courts say, no, we're going to step in as the commander-in-chief and essentially do your job.
It's as the court.
Well,
that's
I
what they
think
do.
It's important to give context here, Laura, as this is breaking. I just had a chance to review
context.
the order
Thanks,
before coming
Senator.
on your show, and it's very limited. This guy is deportable. This guy is a gang member. He is an MS-13 member.
You don't know that.
They just couldn't deport him to El Salvador, evidently. So at the end of the day, this guy is going to be gone, and he should be gone, and there are hundreds of thousands more like him. This mass deportation effort, the American people...
Then let's go after the hundreds of thousands of more.
And Judge Boasberg was slapped down earlier this week when he tried to intervene in the core Article 2 powers of the President of the United States. So
no, he didn't try to intervene in Article 2. He used Article 3.
In this specific example that
this is why I don't watch this network.
And he should. It just will be somewhere else other than El Salvador.
This is why I don't watch this network. Nothing that was just said is remotely accurate. She starts saying about how the people spoke. And yeah, sure, immigration's an issue. But now, because this is a regime, not an administration, due process has become an issue. And now we're actually in a constitutional crisis because of the reasons I told you earlier. We've got a Congress that looks like it's the waiting room of an ED clinic. And we've got a court that, on rare occasion, as you see here, did their job. Let's ditch that and talk to somebody intelligent. And there she is. Hey there.
Hey there. I'm paying my bills as we speak.
Yeah, I've got some catching up to do too.
Yeah.
I meant to message you last night. There's
That's okay.
but I got putting this list together, the things today, and I was like, does he think nobody's watching?
Honestly, I think that's part of it, and he's not totally wrong about that. You know, people are busy living their lives. They're sick and tired of all this political wrangling, and yeah, pretty much a lot of people aren't paying attention. Yeah.
I think that's I think that's a possibility.
Good morning, by the way. Good morning, Ken. Good morning.
Yes, hello. Yep. There, I missed that. There we go. There he is. Ken saying good morning to Jane. Real quick, everybody. There are some people or some of our networks that we're going to lose at the end of the first hour. That's KSHP, K-Shop in Las Vegas, 1400 AM and 1071 FM. Hop over to Yerg's Radio. Go to yergs.radio. It's that easy. Go to yergs.radio. Well, something buzzing the tower. Go to yergs.radio, that new URL that I purchased, and made it even shorter, easier, and more convenient for you to join us. ZQR is still going to be here, Radio X, the DNR cast, and of course Rainbow Radio and Yergs Radio. And coming soon, Right Talk Radio. For all of you conservatives, we're going to do it right for you.
Hey. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a lot of stuff, buddy.
Oh my God, yes. You should see what my afternoon looks like. But I thought about that, and I'm like, there's parts of me that are conservative.
Oh yeah.
And I've been trying to get on a conservative station, like we're on, or we're supposed to be on, or used to be on, America One Radio, a progressive station.
Mm-hmm.
We're on Rainbow Radio, which, aside from some misdirected gays, is obviously a progressive station. So, I'm just going to start my own. I can find plenty conservative people on Facebook.
Whoa! I'm eager. Eager to see what kind of following you get there. That should be really fascinating, because you're going to challenge some of what is publicized, shall we say, as conservative, that you are going to poke holes in, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to go back to conservatism decades ago, which is not what many people see as conservative today. Yeah. I mean, the debt.
No, see, that's what I don't agree with.
Oh.
I think the Liz Cheneys, the Mitt Romneys, the Adam Kinzinger really represent a bigger but quiet and probably scared element of the conservative movement. I won't even call it just the Republican Party. We'll just make it more all-encompassing and just call it conservative movement.
Because that can include people like me who are registered Democrats, right?
Sure. I mean, yeah. And that's the thing, is that I've shown many times on this show, Up the Middle, when it was only a podcast and so on, so many people on both sides are not totally down their political lines, their party lines.
Mm-hmm. Up the middle.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. Yeah.
And I just don't think he's got the lowest approval rating he's ever had. And we're not 3 months in. Barely 3 months in. There can't be that many people who are still struggling to buy something as simple as a dozen eggs or a gallon of gas that are that supportive. So yeah, I thought Up the Middle would gain popularity faster than what we are. And I've talked to a bunch of people about it, and they're just still sold on the issue of polarization, that up the middle isn't their conservative right side of the political spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, if I follow David Beckmeyer's advice and not only be a welcoming space, but create one, it's still going to be the same show.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a following on Rainbow Radio that hasn't come to radio. And there, it's only on when we're live. The whole rest of the day is nothing but the same repetitive commercial example of what you can sound like if your show is on the radio.
Yeah.
We don't have any programming there yet. And it's something I use to test equipment. If it's in the middle of like the Be Inspired podcast and I want to reorganize things and test it, I can go on Rainbow Radio and nobody's going to know.
Right. That's your testing station. It's helpful to have one of those. And those people in the know can reach you there privately.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool thing.
So, Right Talk Radio is on the way. And through my own analysis and so on, I found is.radio an ending for website URLs. And it is.
Whoa.
So last Friday, I bought yergs.radio, which you can now use to go to Yergs Radio. Rainbow.radio, which I think will be, I still want to use the .gay and the .lgbt because I think the gay community will appreciate seeing that in the URL.
Well, it gives them a voice for sure. And that's really important. Mm-hmm.
But also, there's, I don't know, places like where I am, where they might not want to see .gay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can use rainbow.radio just to keep everybody happy. Mm-hmm. It's all going to take you to the same place.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't worry about, I'd probably righttalk.com or righttalkradio.com is taken, I think. I don't remember if I looked that up or not. But we've got righttalk.radio. So, yeah. Coming soon to earbuds near you.
So many things. So what's hot on your plate today?
Pretty productive weekend. I fell behind on the RSS feeds. I was all set to get Both Sides Now caught up when I fell behind with Up the Middle. Sportcat, Glenn Jackson, is dealing with a mom and an aunt in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so he's who would normally follow us in 55 minutes. Well, there's 2 hours that I got to try to fill because not only is it live on Yergs Radio, I think he's also live on Rainbow Radio. And we're both also live all afternoon. Our station is live covering the overnight for Radio X in Australia.
Wow. So you've got a big day ahead. You got to keep talking.
Every day was like that. Exactly. So the show that we've had called Yergs Radio News is now, because it's going to be on multiple stations of ours, not just Yergs Radio, plus these other stations like Radio X. I've renamed it after having brought it back to Mastiff Media Magazine.
Oh.
And that is just right now until we subscribe to news feeds. I just pirate NPR, Reuters, Associated Press, And then there's some others that are actually authorized, like Daily Crypto News and the Randy Report, which is a gay magazine,
Mm-hmm.
a gay news podcast. I put them together on the back end of the Yerg's Radio website, and they're scheduled to play throughout the afternoon. Well, there's 2 separate playlists. Each one is an hour long. And while I'm working on one, the other's playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm working on the first one, the second one's playing. Well, that takes all day.
I'm sure. I mean, talking
That,
about juggling. I mean,
yes,
whoa.
yes,
Yes. God love you.
So when we get monetized, and that's the other thing, is that I was talking to my dad over the weekend. He said, just stop. It's a hobby. Just stop. And I said, no, there's people that are depending on this news in the afternoon
Mm-hmm.
because they like the fact that it is a collage of different sources. And on top of that, I'm so close to getting monetized.
Really?
Wednesday afternoon, the minivan goes to a marketing agency down the road from me. When I pick it up Thursday afternoon, she will come home as the Mastiff Media minivan with all kinds of radio stuff, like the Channel 6 news van.
Mm-hmm.
Those commercials, there's that news van again.
Yep.
Well, hopefully this one van will get that same reputation throughout the Tampa Bay area.
Wow.
And so that alone, I'm expecting, at least for some of the bigger businesses that are in the Tampa Bay area, or even not in the Tampa Bay area, when I say that's part of something that's going to be pushing your brand, that'll be that much more conducive to them purchasing ad spots, which, by the way, by comparison, are pennies on the dollar.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
What I'm giving for $1,500 a month, you wouldn't get that for a week.
Mm-hmm.
610, the sports in Philly.
Right.
Or, I can't think of what the news, what's the all news station? KYW.
Yes, KYW. Yeah.
I had to think of the jingle.
I know.
KYW. So we got to do a shout out. I wish I had his phone number.
Who are we doing a shout out to?
Gary Williams.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yep.
Yes.
And Kim Fry was last week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they're both 54 this week, and I'll be catching up in the fall.
Babes. Absolute babes.
Yeah. I can sit here and just keep turning my ankle and crack it every time.
Oh, no. It's so much fun. What can I tell you?
That's something else my dad asked me about if I was working. I got good news Friday. I've registered for a program here in Florida called Elevate Florida. It's where they'll come through, evaluate your house, and pay for as much as 75% of the cost to either elevate it, which means takes the whole house and lift it up, or rebuild on top of it, or level and rebuild. And then I'm stuck, if you want to call it that, with at least 25%, maybe less. So whatever that cost is for whatever we build, I got to pay for 25% of it. But then they'll pay for and do the rest. So we got notification on Friday that our applications have been accepted
Whoa.
Evaluating. And I'll be hearing from a case manager in the next however long. So I'm telling Dad that. I didn't even see it right away till like Saturday night. And I'm telling my dad that. And he's asking me about how everything else is going. And that's when we had the radio conversation. He asked, "Are you working out?" Well, no, but I am without the dogs. Because, I mean, the dogs, God love them, if they're not sleeping, they're pissing every 10 feet. And that's not exercise.
No.
So I'm going out by myself and actually walking. I want to start doing it first thing in the morning again, because that's, like before you eat anything, that's a good time to do cardio, if you want to call that cardio.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you asked about like my day. At 1:30, about an hour and 20 minutes from now, I do an interview with Derek and Romaine from DNR Studios. And then they're going to play the interview back on their show, promoting Up the Middle, being on Derek and Romaine, the DNRstudios.com. So I'll get to talk about how Mondays I'm with you, Wednesdays I'm with Philip, Fridays with Matt, and still looking for other
content
creators. Yeah. Excuse me. So I think that's pretty much everything. I mean, that's the highlights.
That's the highlight.
How about you?
Okay.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was fun. What we had here in Boyertown was yesterday, that got postponed from Saturday, was coming out of hibernation event. And so there were probably 100 vendors on the street, and they closed Philadelphia Avenue, and people were walking up and down and, just enjoying. Finally, the sun came out for a couple of hours yesterday afternoon, which was really, really great. And then Saturday, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, is it warmer yet?
No.
Yeah.
No. I'm still sleeping under my heavy down blanket, and it feels great. And I want to turn on the radiator heater, space heater.
Isn't your husband hot and he sleeps like on top or something?
Yes. Yeah. One of those. Yeah. It doesn't get any better than that. Anyway, so that was yesterday, Sunday. So I was at the studio most of the day, but working on Boyertown Area Expression articles and shouting out some poetry that people have sent me. By the way, that went really well.
Are you still doing the poetry?
Yes, till the end of April. Yep, it's National Poetry Month.
I finally finished the outline for the thing I was supposed to do for you for February and March.
Yeah, well.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's April now.
You're kind of busy. And we'll take whatever you get whenever you send it, I'll figure out a way to... What? 3?
I found 2 poems that resonate with me.
Okay.
One is a song. It's one of my favorite songs by Pink Floyd. But if you just sit and read it like a poem instead of try to sing it, it's just such a beautiful message called On the Turning Away, with regards to turning away from things you should actually be doing, like helping somebody.
Wow. Oh, I can't wait to read it. That sounds great.
There's another second one. Was written and read during a hearing before Congress by one of the fathers of one of the victims of the Columbine High School shooting.
Whoa. Okay.
And that's pretty powerful. And I think that's something good for right talk. It's a little conservative, a little Jesus-y.
Well, it would be a great submission for April 19th, which is coming up soon.
Oh, yeah. I'll make sure that's in today. Both of them.
There you go. And you can submit another one. You don't have to do both at the same time. You can do 2. We can do 2 different ones, but
they're both cut and paste
Yeah.
It's not like I've got to sit and write it
Of
myself.
course. Right.
And
Right.
we'll
Right.
credit, of course, David Gilmour, the author of On the Turning Away, and I'll get the name of the father that gave the testimony.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Facebook post
and
that I have.
then I'll put some kind of if you have a statement about what those poems, how they hit you, how they resonate you, or why they resonate with you, and or some biographical information. So if you have a cut and paste paragraph about all the things that you are doing and links to that, that will be added to the piece, and that may generate some interest as well. What I'm trying to do is just enhance people's appreciation of poetry, obviously. And I am delighted. I have heard from people I've never met who somehow are seeing what we are calling for in the Boyertown area expression and submitting stuff, like I said, from people I have not yet met. So I'm really pleased at the outreach that the news site is getting, or Facebook, or wherever they're getting the information, because we're, of course, on both. But so, and people have been submitting their very own poetry, because I just figured, if nobody submitted anything, I just take the month and share what I loved. And so far, I have not had to do that. So with your submission, that'll be great.
Yeah, I've got to ask, has Phil Ripko submitted anything this month?
Oh, yeah. In fact, he had something up on his Facebook page, and I said, I'm using this for your April poem. So he said, okay, fine. And it has to do with something that he wears that is symbolic of his faith. So he talks about faith a little bit in this particular poem. It's good. There's some really cool stuff. Yep. So I'm thrilled about that.
How's Leslie doing?
Leslie's doing pretty well. Yep. Just celebrated Passover over the weekend. And I've seen her a couple of times, gone down for a drive-by to pick up some bananas so I can make some more banana cakes. So she's doing pretty well.
I've had 4 that I haven't eaten yet that might be Jane Stallworthy pretty soon.
So I've got maybe a dozen or so frozen bananas ready to go when I make time to create another afternoon of banana bread making. So it's really good. I love having them in the freezer, because then when I go visit somebody, it becomes my hostess gift, like it or not.
Yeah.
So that's really good. But you asked about the weekend. So Sunday was the hibernation, and then Saturday night was the 71st annual Citizens of the Year Gala, where the community celebrates a Citizen of the Year who has done a thing or two, or usually more than a thing or two, to enhance the community, a Mentor of the Year, a First Responder of the Year, a Student of the Year, and a Special Project of the Year. And you probably realized that the special project, of course, was Bear Fever. So Paul got all dressed up and even said a few words at the microphone, and then handed it over to his wife, the English teacher. So it was fun. It was fun. People are so supportive of the project. As I said in my remarks, we're not done. Boyertown caught bear fever 20 years ago, and it appears that it's still not even looking for a cure to the fever. Because I had, in the last week or so, 3 different people email me to say, hey, I want a bear. How do I do it? So once I give them a price, and some of them drop out at knowing how much the project really would cost them.
What do you expect a 6-foot-tall bear to cost?
Well, this is Berks County. Think about it. There's no profit, written into what we're doing. What we decided to do very on in the project, and haven't digressed from it, is we do it for the good of the community. So there's not a whole lot of profit in it. There's some bucks in there to help us cover liability insurance, but and some administrative kind of efforts when we advertise or, promote different things, because people come to us and ask us for things for their events, their basket events and so forth. Do you have any bear fever stuff that we could use and so that costs us a couple of bucks. So, but there's really no profit in written into the cost of the bears. So anyway, just saying.
Where do you get bears from?
An outfit of fabricators in Chicago called Cow Painters.
Okay.
And
that's
my
where
guess
the original
is
was done.
my guess is yes, but I don't know that for sure. They may have been one of the establishments years ago, back in 2000 or 1999 or somewhere around there. They may have been one of the outfits. They may have been the exclusive outfit. I'm not really sure. I never asked him that question because, of course, there is a new owner to the fabrication company now, and the original owners are a little compromised memory-wise. So, you found some bulldogs, are they?
Yeah, that looks like it. So this is
Oh, you went to Cow Painters. Okay, great.
Yeah. I just did a quick search of it, and yep.
Yeah, they have a whole catalog of different animals, and of course that's where Paul went originally, and that's where our bears come from. So
acoustic guitar. Let's see if they can do anything like. Well, there's some of the bears.
Yeah. There's our walking bear, and the walking bear, the one on the left, that's on four legs. You can see that one we had designed molded especially for bear fever. So that's Bear Fever's bear.
Haven't I seen some of this one?
There are two of them,
literally sitting around.
Yeah, that's one style. And that one was sent to us by mistake once. Okay. And we kept it as opposed to sending it back to Chicago. It seemed like a waste of money. So we just kept it. But there's a stylized version. I think it's number 104. I don't know if you can see it, but I don't see it on your screen yet. Anyway, there's a style. There it is. That's the Bear Fever bear. Yeah, that's the one I like best. Too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just cute. So that's the sitting bear we have most of the places. But one of the cool things
pick this dancing bear.
That was a special mold for Preston's Pantry here in town. And that's a little guy. That's not a full-sized one. That's a little guy. Because Preston and his mother and
that one then.
That's the original standing bear, and that bear Cow Painters had way before we started Bear Fever. Okay. But the little guy, Preston, was molded especially for that project because he inspired a food pantry in Boyertown. And so they ended up buying that one that you see on your screen right now and the little guy because they were killed in a flash flood back in 2018 or 19. I can't remember exactly. Anyway.
You're saying.
Now, that was a story recently on Boyertown Area Expression because that particular project, Preston's Pantry, was honored with the James K. Boyer Quality of Life Award at a recent Boyertown Progress Dinner. So I just reran an article about those two bears as part of the promotion for the Boyertown Progress Dinner. So that's been on Expression a week or so ago.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. So Ken says he may be a content creator soon. His group of role-playing players want to get mic'd up for a Dungeons and Dragons and sci-fi horror mothership RPG games. We need to hook him up with...
oh, my gosh.
We need to hook up Ken with Randy.
Randy Renninger, yes.
Yeah, from Pokemon.
And a playwright friend of mine in New York who was really into Dungeons and Dragons when he was a teenager here in Boyertown.
Who is that?
Matthew Freeman. He's a playwright and actor, an amazing personality. Anyway,
Matthew
he and his mother and I are very, very good friends. And so I happen to know that he was really into Dungeons and Dragons and really into Star Wars.
Okay.
He'll travel across the country for premieres of the movies back in the day.
Wow.
Anyway, that was fun. But on Saturday, what with the Citizens Banquet or Gala, whatever you want to call it, I had the absolute pleasure of introducing Diane O'Sullivan, who is helping me with the project and to whom I plan to turn over the entire project when I'm done with it or when I can't do it anymore. So she's been around Boyertown interviewing sponsors and interviewing artists and collecting information and helping us update the website and working with a high school student, Grace Gibbons, who is hopefully or soon will be debuting a Bear Fever Facebook page. Finally, we never had one of those because I did not start my own Facebook page. Sue Bebeck started it for me. So I've never really started one, and it didn't occur to me to start one for Bear Fever until recently. So, and that I can manage easily. That's an easy thing for me. I at least know how to post stuff.
Are the figures painted only, or can they be accessorized in any way?
They're generally painted. We had some in the early collection that artists did a kind of decoupage, put photos on there or something. But what happens is if it's not sealed exactly 100%, the water gets under the photographs, under the clear coat, under the photographs, and destroys the image, whatever. And they had to be totally redone. The one at the senior center called the Food Bear, I think, or Maitre D, I think that's what he's called. He was originally a girl bear that one of our artists had done, and that had to be totally sandblasted and totally redone. And so we suggest that artists just paint them, but we also accessorize them. For example, we have a bear that's holding a large hammer. We have, that we have done. We originally did. Our artists originally tried to do that, but they didn't really have the skills working in fiberglass, and so sometimes things didn't work out as well. Now we have the fabricators in Chicago add those extra accessories, but it's really expensive. If
these folks do.
Yeah. They do a magnificent job. And, their accessorizing holds up under all kinds of conditions, but it gets to be expensive, the custom work. We have one we have one ordered from them now that will be customized.
Because
it costs an additional $1,600 to do what they wanted to do with the particular bear. So,
and what is that?
We have one gentleman in Boyertown. His name is Mark Malizzi, and he works for Fred Bean's Auto and works with cars and fiberglass and so forth. And so he did two bears a couple of years ago in which he cut their heads off and positioned the head the way he wanted it, and cut off the arms and positioned the arms the way he wanted it, and so forth, and added a Bible, for the Salvation Army, I think. So he did his own. He took a standard bear and, with some skill in the industry, fiberglass industry, he was able to create his own form. But otherwise, if we have it done at Cow Painters, it gets to be expensive. It's either expensive or really time consuming, and takes a special skill. So anyway, that's
okay.
That.
So you see that gold figure?
I do.
Do you know what that is?
No.
That's Mothman.
Mothman?
Moth, as in
Mothman. Oh, okay. That's part of the. I don't have any idea.
It's out in West Virginia, I think, is where the original sightings were. There's a supposed devil that has been at a bunch of catastrophic events.
Okay. Yeah.
And the one in West Virginia was a bridge that collapsed.
Whoa.
And he was seen standing on top of the bridge up in those rafters. And so this mythical creature was seen and other sightings have happened in this same town. And it's come to a point where they don't think it's like a bad guy anymore, but that it's a guardian angel.
It's a what?
A guardian angel.
Guardian angel. Now, my guess is that he gets up in the rafters via AI. What do you think?
Well, possibly, but this is all dating back to way before AI.
Oh, I see. I see. So we've got some really courageous character running around.
Yeah. Mothman. I'm trying to think of the. Yep, there it is. 2002, Richard Gere starred in the Mothman Prophecies.
Oh my gosh.
And he was a journalist writing a story about the Mothman. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to essentially call bullshit. And the more people he talks to, the more he's like, Jesus. And then I think at the end, he kind of sort of thinks he has an experience that just says, okay, it's there. I'm just going to let it go. Yeah. And I don't think he does the story. And, the myths continue.
As they do. Yep.
That totally, that's got to be. Because there's always a question about, the height, the eyes, all kinds of things that
yeah.
I'm thinking, because I'm looking at there's bear fever.
Yep. I mean, when people call their company and want to know about putting on a project, they give them my name. And people call me to say, we want to start a project. I understand that you know what to do and how to do it. And so I'm often on the phone telling people about bear fever. So, yeah. Wow, that's really cool. We don't have that bear. I wonder where he lives.
This was called the Beartown Bears, right aside of your bear fever.
Oh, okay.
But
that's beautiful.
That's something with Switzerland and German, because that's German right there.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So what I'm wondering, as far as those accessorizing that they do, if they can put like headphones.
Oh, sure.
And somehow attach a microphone.
Absolutely.
In the bear's hand, or something that's coming out from behind.
Absolutely. The bear. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Why, you gonna order a bear for your? I
told you love to do that.
For Florida. We're gonna travel. We're gonna have bears. I have an artist even in Florida. She's magnificent, and so I would send the bear to her in Florida, and she would do it for you. Yeah. Oh my God, that would be so cool when you're in the chips.
Yeah. Well, I think that's coming. But anyway, yeah. So what else this weekend? What'd you do?
What else this weekend? That's about it, actually. I mean, I spent all day yesterday at the studio, and then Saturday I did something in the morning. I can't remember what I did, but there was something special that I ended up doing in the morning, and then went out to the studio for a while. So it was a busy weekend. It's always busy doing something or other, but I can't remember what. Plus, I have to schedule some Be Inspired podcasts. And I was really happy that I had it worked out time-wise beautifully. I ended up doing on the spot. I went up to take photos of I know what it was. We installed a new bear fever bear on Friday morning, I guess. And on Friday morning at the M&T Bank, which is across from Rich Zuber's office on East Philadelphia Avenue. So they installed
Farmers Bank.
Yeah, Farmers Bank, right. They installed a new bear there, so I went. But the day before, I guess, I ended up at Jeff Graber's place to give him a check for painting the bear, and said, hey, Jeff, we've never done a Be Inspired podcast together. Let's just sit down and do one. So he gave me 20 minutes of his time, and we had a great conversation. I learned so much about him that I did not know. Now, Jeff Graber, as it were, was one of my students when I was teaching junior high about the time that you were there, right? And then he ended up.
He graduated?
Pardon me?
Do you know what year he graduated?
No. No, I should know, but I do not know.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, he ended up then, mowing our grass. I mean, this was a long time ago. And then he ended up, because he was interested in graphic design, he ended up interning with Paul for a while when he was in high school. And then went on to do, of course, developing his own business. He worked for other people for a number of years and even went into landscaping for a number of years. And then somebody said, okay, it's time for you to start your own business. So I learned so much about him.
Nice.
And he's the guy. He's my go-to artist. The project probably would not have continued after 2005 without him because, none of my artist people wanted to do a second, not many of them anyway, wanted to do more than one bear, but Jeff has been doing it since 2005. So I'm really grateful for him. And I got a chance to finally record an episode and dropped it on this Friday. So this weekend was all about bear fever bears. It was all about, there was a really nice article about Paul and me in the Boyertown Area Expression that Leslie wrote. And of course, the debut of Another Bear, the podcast episode with Jeff, and then the Citizen of the Year award that we went to on Saturday. I told the people at the gala, I said, you're going to be really sick of bears because this whole summer we have projects going on relative to bear fever, because we're celebrating our 20th anniversary. We debuted the first 30-some in 2005. It's 20 years later, and we are up to 95, probably 96, 97. We're approaching 100.
Wow.
And then maybe I'll turn it over to Diane.
Is there going to be like a big dinner for that to celebrate the passing of the torch?
Probably not. Yeah. But we may have lunch. Yeah. I was really happy that Paul got to meet her too. She's just a sparkly, bubbly person. And, people are going to love her. And she comes from corporate. She used to live in New Jersey. A couple of years ago, bought a house here in the Boyertown area and was kind of, just retired. And when she reached out to see if we had a book of bear fever bears, of course, we didn't have one. And I explained to her on email, I said, the project's not over and I refuse to spend money on a book when we're still adding bears to the project. I said, but if anybody ever has any interest in starting a book, I would be delighted. And she wrote back and said, I think I'm interested. So we met and she's been working with me ever since. It's just a glorious, beautiful synchronicity that she arrived at this particular time in my life. Yeah.
Was a book done then? Did she?
No, she's working on one. She's working on one. And what we decided, because there are 90 some bears, right? So that's a huge project. So for this summer, we're just doing, and I put that in quotation marks, we're just doing the bears. She's just doing the bears in Boyertown proper. And there are 60 some of those. And then there are 30 more in outlying areas.
How far out is that outlying area?
We have one in West. The one that I think, and I'm not exactly sure because a couple of them have moved and I don't know where they are. But the one I do know that's farthest from Boyertown is in West Reading. Cheryl Miller is a dentist in West Reading. She graduated the same year I did from high school. Okay. And she has a bear in front of her office. So in West Reading, that's about 25 miles from here.
Sure. Yeah.
But there are others who have left the building, as it were, and I don't. And while I know the sponsors of at least, I know the sponsors, I don't remember exactly where they're located. Anyway.
Do you have like a master directory or
yes, on the website, there's a locations chart and a map. Paul created a map. But I find in these days with GPS, the locations chart might be even more helpful, to people because they can just plug in the address if they can't, really find them. But that's currently being updated because there are new bears being added every week It seems, and so I have to get Paul to update it when we finally get to that point in updating the website. So, yeah.
So, remind me the name. Who is the artist with you that was former corporate lady?
She's not an artist, but she's working with me. Yeah, her name is Diane O'Sullivan.
Okay, I thought she was the artist that's doing the painting, but that's
no,
that's the kid that's my age, guy, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, who's the artist that's down here by me?
Her name is Gina Denave.
Okay.
And she's in Florida somewhere. And she did a bear that's right down the street here in New Berlinville from me. And she did such a great job so quickly that I wish she had not moved to Florida. But what she said was, hey, Jane, if you just have cow painters ship them to me instead of somebody in Boyertown, I'll do the artwork and then we'll ship them to wherever they go. Well, I figure that's adding another $300 or $400 in shipping charges, right? So I have not really reached out to her for that, but she would be perfect for you. I would do that because, you know, someone would get the bear to you in Florida if possible. But I mean, that option is open and she's ready for it. But the sponsor would have to be able to accept that there were going to be twice as many, the shipping charges would be twice what it is because they'd have to be shipped 2 times.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So thanks for letting me talk about the Bear Fever Project.
No,
that was really kind of good. This week I am off for the most part from responsibilities. I've got a couple of lunches planned and, you know, a doctor appointment here and there, but for the most part, I'm trying to take the week off. So.
Oh, good. I can send you a link for,
yeah.
You can send me more episodes.
There you go. Yes. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
I actually do need to do that because I'm sick
of
tuning in on Sundays
episodes.
And hearing me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me talking about refereeing and being in high school.
Mm-hmm.
God love her. Laura Fracon, I think, is getting some mileage too.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah. Good. Good. Well, most of my people obviously are here in the area because my listeners are interested. Most of my listeners are interested in people here that they know and may run into on the street corner. But I don't have too many people out of the area that, you know, but still their stories are fascinating. They're inspiring, you know, and people can relate to them, I think, in all sorts of ways. So it's good thing.
So I'm bummed that we had to discontinue with WDJY.
I know. Yeah.
It just,
I liked sharing that my people were being being introduced in Atlanta.
We've since been on in Pineland, Florida.
Okay.
And it's a talk station. And there's actually 7 stations at that different, like when you go on their website, unlike WDJY, where you can't hear it because you have to use TuneIn, which you have to pay for.
Oh, okay.
This station, I always have to look at my keyboard. WZQR in Pineland, Florida, down by Naples.
Okay.
You go on WZQR.FM, and there's 7 different genres of radio. Like they do have an FM station, I think, and that is their big band orchestra that gets played on there. That of those 7, that one alone gets 2 million hits a month.
Good Lord. Yeah. So there are cultured people out there.
Yes. We're on number 7. Well, there's no real order. It's just when you scroll down, they're alphabetical order. That's why we're on CQR-Talks. Okay. And that's their talk channel.
I love talk radio. That's so
fun. They do make News Radio where they take podcasts like Be Inspired, repurpose them, and that puts up the schedule, but it still gets exposure for those podcasts.
Awesome.
to the actual RSS feed. So I'm going to submit that. And
good.
Brain farting, that and Outrage Overload. We already got Glenn Jackson, Sport Cats, on there with his Para or Normal guys, the Wednesday night show where he'll interview you about talking about your work at the studio and your work here with me and your work wherever. But the whole reason you're on the show is because you've had some paranormal experience. And then they'll talk about that too. And it's pretty interesting. It's a good, the way he shows real people, not nut jobs, have extraterrestrial experiences, near-death experiences, Bigfoot. He's actually a Bigfoot hunter, or whatever you would call it. But he doesn't like talking about the ghost stories because he's had experiences like that too, that it just wigs him out. But in the event that I guess, he kind of forces himself to deal with it. But he's had afterlife experiences, afterlife, Bigfoot, all kinds of paranormal stuff.
Well, you remember Craig Bennett. He was one of our first fans. One of his books, his second book, is divided into 3 parts, and 2 of those parts have to do with paranormal activities. And I'm wondering if he could be part of your content. He's got the radio voice for sure. And because he's done, what do you call it, on top of, what do you call that? When you're talking on top of like a cartoon character.
Voiceover? Voice acting?
He's done voiceovers. Voiceover work. He's got a great voice and he has lots to say. So, if you still have his email address and want some content that has to do with paranormal, he may be very interested. He may be interested in working with you. So
it wouldn't be with me. It would be with them.
Whatever,
Yeah.
But I thought maybe that content could be, massaged into your many endeavors. So
I'll pass it off to Craig. That's his
okay.
thing. I've had experiences, but
he has so much to talk about. It's really good.
Yeah. What's he been for somebody that
he writes for Expression. Yeah. He submits essays.
Craig,
in fact, one of the essays.
Craig's an early super fan of both sides now.
Exactly.
And just kind of decided that he was, we were going to move on and not follow us so much anymore. But,
right. We weren't heavy enough in content. We were too chatty, and that he didn't find particularly interesting. Yes, but he would be heavy in content. I'll tell you. You just tell him you want to talk about a thing or two, and he won't. He'll deliver. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's great. In fact, he submitted an essay to an article to the Expression over the weekend that we're not going to use because it was a little too political. But he was distressed. I can talk about it here. He was distressed about. I'll get it. I'm having a brain thing. He was distressed about the latest something from Doge that wanted universities to submit their curriculum over the last 10 years to make sure that they were not interfering with college graduates' ability to get jobs. And it was micromanaging. Yeah. And he just felt that chill, shall we say, the chill of authoritarianism in that command, which I can certainly appreciate. And he argues for a liberal education is what his essay really was about. Pardon me.
I had an online encounter with a former coworker of mine who is now in the corporate world. He's the vice president for security at MGM and taking a big transfer, I think, to New York. He and his husband are making the move east out of LA. And we were talking about just through Facebook, this is a bad dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to wake up. I'm going to be tired. And I need to catch the bus to go back to junior high school.
Mm-hmm.
It's that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you were a bad part of junior high school, but not exactly my favorite time of life.
Mm-hmm.
But
I totally understand.
Yeah.
It's a very challenging time of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how there aren't more people who don't openly think that this is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's blatantly not okay.
You know, this is not an excuse, but it is. I mean, that's not my job. The people whose job it is are Congress people, are people in judiciary, the people who are appointed by it's their job to do the right thing, and they're not. So you want us to take our time and effort and do their job for them? Come on.
So this is where I agree and disagree with you. I agree that Congress, in fact, in the first hour, I referred to Congress as the waiting room at a men's erectile dysfunction clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting there doing nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
But it is our job. And that's why when I do the plugs in a couple of minutes, one of the things I'm going to put out is the switchboard, the phone number for the switchboard at Capitol Hill. So people can call their senators. You just use one number. Say you want the senators for Pennsylvania or whoever your congressman is, and say, get off your ass and stop this shit.
And you're right. I mean, we, not I necessarily, voted them in.
Mm-hmm.
And the voters are the people to blame for ultimately selecting people who don't perhaps represent their values, or they were, like I think you brought up last week that there were more voters who sat out the election. Yeah. And that's our fault.
Yep.
Yeah. So I can see where you agree and disagree. Yeah. I'm just so freaking busy as you are.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to be protesting and making phone calls and writing letters. Come on. But hey, my fault.
Well, I mean, for me, this is what I do. And on a daily basis, I tried to get since I moved here, I knew this is what I was getting into. I've been trying to get Gus Bilirakis on the phone here in rural Tampa. I cannot even get him on the phone or get an email back from him saying, no, I'm not interested in granting an interview. I'm a constituent of his. It's his job to give me an interview, even if it's not for radio. And so I found out some things. I'm going to use it to essentially hold it over his head. He had one of those town halls.
Okay.
But I have reason to believe that it was faked, that it was all supporters at the town hall.
Okay. That's possible. Yeah.
I've been in his Rolodex for 3.5 years. I didn't get an invite. I didn't get any alert that this was being had, that I could just walk up and show my ID and, go. Instead, I found out this when I find out about all the other town halls. And I go, well, I wonder what he's doing. His website to see this nice big TV news story that how he already had his, and it was such a success, and he put together this mini little Congress, and they created laws that would make things so much better. Bullshit. That's not what his actual constituents are saying.
Wow.
So My job to hold him to the fire.
I'll say.
But I think
feet to the fire.
We're coming up to that time.
We have 5 minutes. We're ahead of time.
Yeah. I got an interview in 35 minutes. I got a large dog that just walked outside. I think he's getting his GI issues coming back.
Oh, no.
He might be spitting up outside.
Oh, no.
No, I just lost damn it. Trump is meeting with the El Salvadorian president in the Oval Office.
Yep, I saw that before I got on the air this morning. They looked like they were having a lovely chat.
Didn't think to bring back.
Hey, did you see the latest? Did you hear about? Not that we have time to talk about it, but the latest rant, Truth Social rant, that he wants to sue 60 Minutes for the piece last night that interviewed Zelenskyy, and also. Yeah, I mean, he wants them off the air. He wants CBS and Paramount, I guess. Is it CBS? Whichever station.
That's CBS. That's the newest one.
Yeah. Off the air and sued out the wazoo. So, yikes.
Here's what he says. Here's what he says in the Oval Office. Bukele, the El Salvadorian president, says, "What you're doing with the border is remarkable." Dropped what? 95%? Trump, 99.1% to be exact. Bukele, why are those numbers not in the media? Trump, well, they've got them, but the fake news, CNN over here doesn't want to put them out. They don't like putting our good numbers because I think they hate our country, actually. Isn't that a great question? Why don't they put out the numbers? Because that's not what the numbers are. That's why.
Yeah. That'll do it.
This is, of course, from a conservative guy, Shane Morgan, who has an education of a 6th grader and doesn't put out intelligent things anyway because he doesn't have that. It's not
his brand.
Yeah. And then there's this asset. He just shot up his TV with yellow paintballs. This Jesse Tyler Ridgway gets thousands and thousands and thousands of views of footage of him running around the house. He's disturbed, literally. And he gets thousands of views of him filming himself ranting against his parents. And, here's his dad sending him the bill for all the utilities that he racked up playing nothing but video games. And now he owes his dad a couple $1,000.
Oh, boy.
Who, God love him, puts up with his shit and knows that he's, not all there. And here we are saying intelligent things, and nobody wants to.
Well, let that be the topic for our next show.
Yeah,
we are now at the end, so I'm going to begin the
end. Go ahead.
And this is Jane Stahl,
and I'm Yergs,
and we do both sides now.
And that's been during Up the Middle, and that's it for me. You're going to hear Mastiff Media Magazine is up next on Radio X, Yergs Radio, and I think that's it. Yeah. Everybody else, I'll see you again tomorrow, and I'll see you again next week.
All right. Take care.
Always a pleasure. See you again. All right, gang. That is it. And I've got to go check on a dog, make sure he hasn't actually thrown up, and get them fed anyway. I'm with Derek and Romaine. It's a recording, so you won't be able to catch that live anywhere, but that's in 30 minutes. Like I said, Mastiff Media Magazine is up next, and I will see you tomorrow. See you then.